Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here, Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour podcast.
Yes, hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 211. So I'm not even going to do the normal spiel at the start of the episode. So last week, gaming Twitter blew up with a certain article about a certain system where some absolute madman reviewed every single game for it. And honestly, the gaming side of Twitter didn't know how to take it. So, luckily for us, we actually knew some people who worked over there. We pulled a few strings. So with us tonight, if you know our show, you're familiar with our first guest. You know him from Thought Cops. He's also from HardDrive Mag. He's Kevin Potus.
What's up? How's it going, guys?
What up, dude? Good talking to you again.
Glad to see you again, buddy.
And of course, last but not least, he is the co-founder and head writer of HardDrive. We have Mark Roebuck with us. Mark, how's it going, man?
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
So
that wasn't very good. I apologize.
No,
I should
appreciate you.
I tried to follow Kevin's "was up." I just couldn't do it. No, thanks for having me, guys. This is exciting.
No, thank you for coming on. But before we get started, guys, plug away, plug all the stuff. Where can everybody find you?
HardDrive, hard-drive.net. You can read this big article ranking every single N64 game. We're going to be talking about that, I'm sure, in a second here. Like Jim was saying, I'm also on the podcast Thought Cops. We're taking a little breather, a little bit of a hiatus right now. We're going to be back soonish rather than late-ish. You can check that out wherever you can find your podcast, Thought Cops. We're coming up on episode 300. We want it to be good. We want to hit it right. So come subscribe to us and be ready for that big 300, baby.
Hell yeah. I can't wait for that.
Oh, yeah, I would say also, like Kevin said, HardDrive Mag, all that stuff. I also have, certainly compared to your guys, congratulations on your 200 and 300 episode counts. My wife and I have a relatively young podcast that I think we're about to release our 8th episode. So just an absolute infant, of course. But it's called 50% Fresh. It's a movie podcast where we focus on movies that got less than good reviews, and tends to be a lot of things that we like that got bad reviews, us defending it, but along the way, sometimes it's just fun to watch a piece of shit and, do stuff like that. So it's, whether it be movies near and dear, it's opened us up to still a lot you can do with that premise, I think. And that's been a lot of fun. So, a lot of movies near and dear to our heart, a lot of crap from the 90s, so on and so forth. 50% Fresh on Twitter and wherever you can find podcasts, all that stuff, Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff.
I was actually listening to the newest episode about Jackass today, and it was funny to hear how you're almost getting a villain for the show already, and you're only 8 episodes in. What's his name? A. Steven or Steven?
A.O. Scott.
A.O. Scott, that's
it.
it.
Yeah, a reviewer who my wife does a great job. We kind of have the workload sort of split. My wife does a great job researching it, so we talk about the movie, our reaction to it, we watch the movie. My wife talks a lot about the critical response. We kind of react to that, and then I kind of handle the editing and all of that stuff. And just man, I mean, it's the whole thing. Criticism is also fucking arbitrary and everything else, right? But it is just you just hit this thing where people are trying to talk about comedies or something. And Jackass is interesting. Here's what we do on the show. We suck the fun out of really fun movies. But Jackass is exciting in the way of it's just it's the first Jackass movie, the only one with bad enough Rotten Tomato scores to get the squish or whatever the bad thing is. Because critics are just as time went on, they just realized actually Jackass is actually pretty funny, and maybe it just, so if you look at the Rotten Tomato scores, they just go up to where Jackass Forever got 85% or something, some really stellar stuff. And I think there's been a consistency of the Jackass movie. You know what I mean? I don't think too many people are I don't like the first movie, but I like the second movie. And it's just is what it is. So it's just kind of fun to point out how ridiculous critics can be sometimes, or
sort
just
of a Batman Begins, Dark Knight
humorless.
Situation.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely fun. Thanks for checking out the show, by the way, too. But yeah, we definitely have. It's fun to just kind of pick apart maybe some of the more humorless critics of the world, and we always talk about too, just this is your job. Were you watching this movie at noon on a Wednesday or something? Because that's not why I watch a comedy, because it was my job and I had to watch it on a Wednesday afternoon or something. So I think the whole thing is a little dodgy.
A lot of great comedy movies do come on at 3 p.m. on Comedy Central, though.
And that you're right. It can be an ideal time to be. You're absolutely right.
Oh, does PCU still come on once a month?
Oh my God, PCU! And I just remember. I don't know. I feel like Monty Python and the Holy Grail was always about to come on. I remember the commercials or something with Penn Jillette yelling about it at me.
Oh yeah, always in the middle of a 3-hour Saturday Night Live block.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. It was a ton of Saturday Night Live, Kids in the Hall. They had about 4 shows. Yeah.
No, I love that concept. And so, do you guys already have like a whole list of movies you want to get to, or is it like you just randomly go, okay, you know what, let's see what this scored, or do you?
We kind of
we
we sort of have a little spreadsheet where we both put some movies in there, and then we look at the criticals. Sometimes it's funny to talk about. Like one of my favorite ones we've done is the movie Gotti with John Travolta, because
Oh my God, I was just talking about that last night.
it's just it's the craziest thing you've ever seen. I don't
Oh
like
my
it.
God, a movie pass movie.
Yeah, it's like it's this mob movie that also has like all these weird scandalous financial thing. It's just too perfect. Like it's just there's too much going on. So on top of just like this funny like rough around the edges movie that they produced, behind the scenes was all this really nefarious, weird critics that had never been published before giving it good reviews suspiciously and whatever,
The
all that
trolls.
stuff.
This is what happens to trolls and haters.
That's right. Don't let the haters fool you. Come see the #1 movie or whatever. Yeah, and it was like when like Movie Pass was working and then it stopped working and then suddenly all you could do was go see Gotti. And however that went down, I forget.
So
Well, it is funny because Jim and I, so for our Patreon, one of our things is we have a specialty tier to do movie reviews.
Oh, yeah.
And people love to throw really bad I'll just say really bad movies, or
Yeah.
even some of the ones we pick. And it's funny because
it's mostly me picking the bad ones because I like to torture the guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just to
Brian,
give
by
you
the
an
way, my
example-
next pick is going to be Gotti, just so you know.
Well,
Hell yeah.
you're actually vetoed from picking for a while because the last thing he made us watch was the latest Brendan Schaub stand-up special. So he made us watch and review that, and I
I see him nodding with pride.
Yeah. Part of it was just laziness because he knew it was only like 28 minutes long or something.
Oh shit.
But yeah, and I told him, I said, if you're gonna pick that, then you have to say something nice and something you liked about it. So that was the challenge. So
camera
yeah.
work.
Was the something nice that the comedy special was only 28 minutes?
That was part of it. That was one of my points.
But like, no, I love that concept, and it's funny because now that you are going back and watching these movies, you have this nostalgia for. Have you caught yourself going like, yeah, maybe that one didn't age as well?
Interesting. Nothing comes to mind. I think we're still just so far, or not that far. We're not that far along yet, so that we're like still just like doing some pretty major ones for us, or So I'm fully anticipating that potentially happening. Like the first episode we did was Airheads, which we just like loved to death, and
I love that movie.
it was like not So it's kind of like still a little bit on that level. So there's been too many. We've actually only done. I like seeing a movie for the first time and doing it, which we did for the first time. The episode that comes out as of this recording, it'll be tomorrow. But our most recent episode, whenever we did Basic Instinct, which I had never seen, which is pretty. I found to be a pretty bad movie, but not kind of worth a watch too. Also, I'm sorry, too, to answer your question, we do have a spreadsheet, and so I'm really excited about how many things we're going to get to, because I still feel like we have. I have to decide which Van Damme movies we do and when, and how best to pepper them out, because if you leave it to me, we might just do like Street Fighter into Sudden Death into Lionheart or something, and I don't know if that's the best approach to releasing episodes that could be about anything, but yeah, so we're still just in those ones we're really excited about doing. We just got what appears to be a bootleg DVD of Spice World in the mail, so that's that'll be a fun one we're looking forward to.
Did you guys order that, or did it just show up apropos of nothing?
I think, we have fans too that are torturing us at this point. No, that's not true. We ordered it. That's one that my wife grew up as that'll be another one I haven't seen yet, if you can believe it. But my wife grew up pretty into the Spice Girls, so that's one that she's as you'd imagine, flying the flag for a little bit. But I'm very excited about seeing the Spice Girls movie.
That's awesome. Now, but like we said, make sure, please, guys, we have all the links below. Subscribe to Thought Cops, subscribe to 50% Fresh, and make sure you're checking out HardDrive. But gents, we do appreciate you coming with us. Kev, I'm going to start with you because I already saw you got your Fosters, your giant-ass beer can.
Big-ass Fosters. I was like,
oh, man.
I'm like, you know what? I wanted to get like a nice, like, 40-ouncer or just a big can. And when I think of the big can, I'm always thinking of Australia's finest, Fosters. I haven't had one of these in a long time. And it's okay.
I think he's being nice there.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a struggle before that.
It's there was no
okay.
hesitation there. No, it's fine. It's comes in a big blue can. does
It's
what
a
it's
novelty.
supposed to.
It's a novelty of it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's all it is. You're not getting it for the flavor.
Just supporting Australia and their 125 years of Fosters. You believe that?
And thank God it's the only beer to not go woke so far. So goddamn, Kev being the alpha
There's
chat
only
over
a
here.
kangaroo on this can.
Yeah. Now, what about you, Mark? What are you sipping on tonight?
I grabbed a few different things at the store today, and I'm having some Leinenkugel Summer Shandy, which is just a fun a beer I enjoy as this time of year approaches. I don't know how much of it I'll drink. Once the summer, but and I mentioned I think a little bit off the air too, but I grew up out here in Michigan. My wife and I were in Arizona for the last few years, so we're back in Michigan. So I'm still just into the Midwest beers that I kind of missed that weren't readily available out there. So Leinenkugel, I've been enjoying my Bell's Two Hearteds and my Atwater, etc., stuff like that. So yeah,
Nice. Now, Leinenkugel is it's one of those ones that I feel like a lot of people try for the first time after a lot of macros, and then they grow out of it and kind of forget about it. But every time you pick it up, you're like, oh yeah, this is pretty damn good, especially around the summertime.
the circle back. Yeah, I was just talking to my wife about it when I brought these home. Where it's like I remember, it's like not to be Mr. like whatever, but like it's almost like the anti too cool for school because like I used to hang out at this like about a decade ago. I was at a comedy club in Lansing, Michigan that I frequented, and like it just would like everyone would get excited when this beer would be on tap, and it was like kind of a cool new thing. And then like things it became kind of really popular, and then I think it kind of took on more. It's like maybe not too far from like Mike's Hard Lemonade or something. It's not like a beer, and that's fair. It is a fucking lemonade beer. What can you do about it? But so then with that, I think it cooled off. But like you said, now it's like you just circle back and go, that's actually a pretty good beer on like a nice summer night or something,
Oh, you're talking the same here. Like in the Northeast, that was one of the ones when it would be on tap. You're like, oh, that's the one that tastes like Fruity Pebbles. Like the original one was so damn good. And then, it started once they started expanding. Got hated on because God forbid it doesn't just taste like pine. Like you have any other flavors, you get hated on. But yeah, now I'm definitely I pick that up anytime I'm going somewhere or going to a party because that's something everyone ends up enjoying. They might fuss looking at the can, but it's damn good.
That's right.
Yeah. What about you, Chambers? What you drinking?
I'm keeping it summery as well. From good old local Yards Brewing, have their Summer Crush. So
Nice.
Good old citrus wheat beer, 5% alcohol. And it's another one like Leinenkugel. It's just like a perfect summer beer. And since we're in the throes of no IPA May, that's the little gimmick we do during May to just get people to drink something the hell else. And you know what? It's a solid one. It's right. You're not going to be disappointed with it. Just sit back on a hot day and you'll be good.
So, unfortunately, I'm the boring one tonight. I am not drinking beer because I am on medication that you really shouldn't mix with beer. So,
Come on,
can't do
man.
that tonight. Yeah, so I'm just doing boring-ass LaCroix. So, yeah.
Hey, that's a great. Is that key lime?
It is key lime.
That is a great
Oh.
flavor. That's my favorite flavor.
You spotted that key lime.
You got it fast, yeah.
I
Via
saw that
Zoom.
can. I'm like,
Wow.
Yo, hand that over here, man. I want it.
Dude, that's my go-to one. That and the the raspberry or raz something. Those are really the only two I have. So
It's
yeah,
the same
it's,
shit. Kind of
yeah.
thing.
Kevin would trade you his giant Fosters for that if we were all
I bet
you
in
know what?
person.
I mean, I don't want to mess with this medicine thing, but I do want that
No, yeah.
key lime LaCroix.
What is that like? Is that 32 ounces or what is in your hand? Is that 20, 24, 32?
I don't.
Does it say?
me
Some
see.
Australian unit of measurement I don't know.
25.4 fluid ounces.
Okay,
Yeah.
25. Man,
nice. No,
that's a doozy.
I said I am a big sucker for those big novelty cans. And,
No, same here, like-
Sashi does it too with their
Yes, it was right next to
That-
this. The super dry. Yeah.
super dry. Because we used to go to this one. It was a Japanese karaoke bar downtown, Yakitori Boy, and they just would say, "Do you want the Godzilla?" and give us those. Like you would like pay like $3 because it was dirt cheap or something.
I mean, I used to
Yeah.
get these big cans back in college. It's like if you go to a party or something, it's like if you don't want to like drink a lot, it's like just get one big can, a 40 ounce or like 25.4 ounce,
Yeah,
and then you're
yeah.
you're set.
Yeah, there could be an awkwardness sometimes if you have like where do I put all my beer or just like
Exactly, yeah,
there
yeah.
could be depending on the setup. Sometimes like an issue presents itself. Yeah, Play a free drink. No thanks. I brought a big beer. It's great.
My big blue beer. Nobody can have any.
What does that come in then? Do you just buy them? Do you buy them solo then? They
Yeah,
don't come in
just
like a
solo.
6-pack. Okay, yeah.
That's awesome.
I'd be terrified
now-
of a 6-pack of this thing. You know,
Yeah, I was just
it really hurt somebody.
Now, Kev, I mean, I know, like I said, we mentioned you're taking a little hiatus, but have you had any time to do any gaming this past week or so?
Yeah, Brian. I've actually been playing a little indie game recently. It's kind of weird. It's like a crafting game, but it's also like a action adventure game.
So it's like Fortnite meant Minecraft, right?
Yeah. It's called The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. And I can't stop.
I think I've heard.
Is it about a
that.
girl?
I don't think that's out yet.
This is so
Yeah.
confusing.
That didn't come out. That didn't come out
Let me
yet.
clear this up. I don't know why they called it this, but you play as a guy named Link. You don't play as Zelda. It's very fucking confusing, but it's just a fun game. It's a fun little game. Check it out.
It's a
I'm
fun
playing
little
it
game.
constantly. I'm thinking about playing it right now. Yeah, it's been consuming me.
So you like everyone else I've seen who's like 40 hours in and hasn't even touched a story yet?
I've been kind of like pacing myself out, because what's fun about the game is like, it's pretty hard for a Zelda game. Not that Zelda games are like easy per se. Not that an easy game is bad even, because I recently played Legend of Zelda Minish Cap and like I died one time, and then I've probably died 70 times so far in Tears of the Kingdom. Like, you could just rush to the story, but everything is so fucking like everything will beat your ass down if you don't take the time to explore and do side quests and do all these little things. So it's like they don't force you to or tell you to, but it's like if you get to a point in the adventure where you're really struggling, it's like maybe I should go help that guy find his missing horse or something, you know?
Yeah, I'm hearing that like buddies of mine are playing it and they're like, I just started. I'm getting one-shotted by Bobbikins already. And I'm
Yeah,
just like,
it's
really?
crazy. And I think like, you know, I'll do a bunch of side stuff, and then I'll go do a story chunk, and then I'll do a bunch of side stuff and kind of space it out that way. And I realized that as I was playing more today, like the more you play, they start to cycle in harder enemies. Because I'm like, I don't think I've seen that thing before. And like the
pretty
enemy like class types start to upgrade the more you play, like to kind of like level where you're at. So,
So you mean
so you're not
wherever
just
you're-
rolling over it, yeah.
yeah.
So regardless of where you are, they'll still know to like put the right harder
Yeah,
enemies
yeah, like-
in front of you. Yeah.
I went to like the third dungeon because you can do them in any order. Like, well, the third dungeon for me, and I'm like, these enemies are definitely harder. I'm like, if I came here first,
Right.
would I have been like out of my league? I'm like, I don't think so. It just they just like cycle stuff in, which is a very smart way to do a non-linear game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, it's very fun, very charming, little indie game. Check it out.
I will say one of my favorite things of Twitter right now is seeing the absolute crazy contraptions and vehicles and airplanes being built in that game, where it's just they're building stealth bombers that like are remote
Yeah.
drones in that game, or like walking mechs with like flamethrowers going everywhere. Like I'm like, Jesus Christ, that just watching that actually like gives me joy. I'm like, all right, that's pretty goddamn funny.
And I feel
Because
like
I think
I'm-
like, oh no, go ahead.
I'm not like of that mindset because I feel like I saw like a funny Cybershell tweet where he mentioned something like the younger generation has an advantage over us because they've been playing so much Minecraft and everything for so long that like they just know how to build stuff. And then like the first like 20 hours of this game, I'm like, what if I attached a log to a boat? That could work.
That was me. I laughed my ass off and tweeted a picture. I put a spoon ladle or like a soup ladle at the end of a mop. And that was just my weapon. Like
I feel like
other people are
fucking
building
genius.
tractors and yeah, right, stealth bombers and everything.
A lot of the puzzles in the game are really fucking hard too, and it's like it's like they mess with my brain in a way that I wasn't expecting. And there are sometimes I try my hardest to finish a puzzle and it's not going the way I want it to, and then I'm like, what if I try to break it by doing this other thing? And then sometimes it's like my jaw drops to the floor. I'm like, that worked. Like it's definitely not the way you're quote unquote supposed to do it, but those moments where you can even like break something the right way to make it work, it's just like, I can't believe I made that work. I can't believe I figured that out after trying to do it the right way for so long.
I think too, even like I don't have like the, like you said, the Minecraft brain or whatever. I'm pretty primitive in some of these things. But even then, the first time I just like made there's like you find a flat little platform and you attach a hook to it and you throw it up on a railing and it's all rickety, but you ride it. Like that's so exhilarating. And you're like, I did exactly what they led me. I glued point A to point B, but it's still like, I'm fucking doing it.
I can do it all.
Yeah. So I can imagine these guys that are building things and you're actually like, is this going to fly when I shoot a fucking arrow at it? Like that is, I'm sure that's exhilarating when it like goes,
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the articles I saw was interesting is that the power you have in there, the ascend where you go up through surfaces, was actually a cheat for the devs when they were coding it to do it. And the developer was like, that just looks fun to do. Like, what if we just make that a power in the game? So it was just a way for them to go through the surfaces quicker and like do stuff. He's like, build that as like a cheat for the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was literally like an old school cheat that they just made a power. I'm like, yeah, of course people would enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a great post that said, you're not stuck, you just forgot about the ascend ability. Which is like, yeah, you're thinking in very like, it's fun anytime a video game kind of like expands your video game brain, right? And you're like, oh, it's not just I need to find the key or whatever. It's like, I could just like fly up through this motherfucker.
Dude, I am ashamed to say how long I was stuck in a cave at one point because I'm like, how the hell do I get out of here?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh my god, what if I just ascended through the fucking ceiling? And then there I am. Like I was in there.
To be fair, it's a new power for Link. He didn't always used to be able to just Superman his way through whatever he wanted.
Now, what about you, Mark? Have you been enjoying that title as well?
I haven't played Zelda, but to be honest, sometimes I don't sit down to game until it's late at night. And a game like that, I don't have that right. You know what I mean? Like I want to be just like I want to chill out a little bit more. Like Zelda's been great, like weekend afternoon gaming or something. So very much that. But at night, lately the two I've been stuck kind of just my junk food gaming a little bit. With no disrespect, I love these games, but I'm playing the Power Wash Simulator. I'm like almost through everything in there.
Yep.
And that was just a game like I knew it existed. My wife played it first, and I just knew like one day I'm going to buy that game. I'm going to know exactly what that game is. And then that day finally came, and I'm like, at the end of the day, I keep wishing I had something cool to chill out and play like on that right, and it's been that. It's just, it's amazing. And then
did you get the Final Fantasy VII DLC?
Yeah, they've added. It's so cool. The Tomb Raider and Final Fantasy stuff has been free, so it's just like it's just in there, which is fun. So I'm a little bit through. I feel like I'm about halfway through the Final Fantasy stuff, and it's so funny because it's like you're taking jobs for different characters, and it's all just via text messages in the game. But like you're cleaning up. How do you Tifa? These things I always see. Tifa. I don't know how to say out loud. Tifa. You're doing her whole bar, and she's texting her. Oh, thanks. I got some other stuff going on. So if you can clean the place up for me, that'd be great.
So she doesn't show up.
Yeah, it's all just very empty locations and vehicles and stuff like that. But yeah, that's been great. And then the other one, I think it's a little bit low key right now. I really like the Apple Arcade Surface, and I was almost letting it lapse. And then because Apple Arcade was putting like 1 or 2 new games up a week, and then I accidentally let it slip by. I was like, oh fuckers, my $5. And then they literally dropped 20 new games. And there's still some good ones I want to get to, but it's going to be like other things on Apple Arcade that I think it'll come off of its year exclusive, whatever. And then things like What the Golf or other games that came out and kind of became just Steam games. My prediction, and I don't know anything about this, my guess, this Ninja Turtles game I've been playing that is just a complete Hades clone, but you're the goddamn Ninja Turtles, is so fun. I cannot stop playing it. TMNT Splintered Fate, I think. Respect the pun, right? But yeah, I've been playing on my iPad, just to hook up like a PS4 controller to it or something. It is just like, how like sometimes a game is so good, we all are just like, hey, that's just a genre now. Grand Theft Auto, hey, that's just a genre now. And not that Hades didn't take things from but their exact version of like what they did. It's just the Ninja Turtles doing that. It's a co-op. You can do 4 players if you want to, but just like the branching and like the way that the story plays out through the loops over and over and shit like that. It's just like, again, I probably lose my gamer card. I could be playing Zelda, but it's like, man, I don't play that fucking Turtles game. That
sounds fun as shit.
That.
It's really
sounds
fun.
like one I'm definitely gonna try.
Check it out. I mean, it's probably not. It's Apple Arcade. Oh, sorry if my dogs are gonna come in and be loud. Apple Arcade's obviously not like the most, the best way to launch a game or whatever. But like, yeah, it just really feels like a fucking home run.
Guys, could you go somewhere else, please? It's funny you
mentioned Power Wash Simulator. So that was one of the games I did beat this year, and just like you, I had just finished. It was like Witcher 3. It was like a really long game. And I was like, I needed something just as a brain scrub.
Yeah.
Like I need something where I don't think, I just do it, whatever. And yeah, that game is strangely addicting. And we talked about it when all these job games like Lawnmower Simulator, I'm like, who would like want to play that? And then I played it. I was like, son of a bitch. There is a calming, like just, all right, I'm just going to do it. So yeah, I definitely see the appeal in that game.
Do you guys think those like started off as like a joke from the developers? Like, this is kind of a funny idea. And then people started playing it and they're like, this is actually like that term people use, like oddly satisfying.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I wonder if it was things like I used to play Link to the Past and just run around and kind of mow the lawn, and like not just like a little patch of grass you could find. So I wonder if anyone just grew up as like one day there should be a game of just that, and like kids like that really just grew up and made those games or something, Or like you said,
I think so for sure. Yeah, like I think we're in a weird time now. There's the volume of games out there. If you have a niche for anything, you'll probably find it, and like. I mean, shit, there's how many games out there right now about moving? As Jim is saying, he's going to be in the process of moving from house to house. It's a nightmarish thing.
It's fucking miserable, but everyone loves unpacking, and I want to play unpacking. And I'm like, I want to play digital moving. I don't want to actually move.
Jim, do you think once you're done with the move, do you think you're going to play that game? Or are you good?
Maybe I should, and I'll be like, why wasn't mine like this? Just throw my Switch in anger.
Jim, speaking of being angry in games you should be playing, how's Tetris 99 going?
Not good, Brian. Still not good. Still. So, like, just for a little background for you guys. So, like, years ago when Tetris 99 first came out, it's all I talked about. I was obsessed with it. And Brian's like, Jim, I guarantee I will beat it before you. And, of course, the motherfucker did. But what I didn't realize is, like, 4 years later, I'd still be playing it and still haven't won a goddamn game. Still have not been first place. So,
What's
I'm
your
trying.
job?
It's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to be like the goal for the end of the year. Just give it to me once. That's all I goddamn want.
Before they pull it from the Switch shop, like Pac-Man 99?
Yeah.
Thank you. That they just announced that. I was trying to remember what the thing was, but Pac-Man, they're like ending.
Yep.
Yeah, they're at least giving you like a couple months of heads up and like giving you ways that you can play it offline. Like they're going to put in bot modes and stuff like that. So you can at least still enjoy it and enjoy the DLC that you had bought for it. So at least they're giving you that. It isn't like with like Super Mario 35 and they just like yanked it. Like you don't get to touch this at all anymore.
I had fun with Pac-Man 99, and like I just stopped playing it for a while. But then it seems like it did not have the shelf life that Tetris 99 has. Like I don't know why. It just seems like people who are really into Tetris 99 continue to play it, but then Pac-Man 99, it's like it came and went, and then now it's going away. And like I feel like a guilt where I'm like, did I do something wrong? Should I have been playing more Pac-Man?
I'm sorry. I should have given you more. No, I mean well, here's the deal. That number one, I think it's absolutely ridiculous unless it like literally has a player base of like under 100 people. Why would you need to pull it? You're Nintendo. You're telling me like you can't maintain those servers. I know they're shitty at their online stuff, but like you're telling me you really can't maintain that. Because people like this competitive gaming thing, and I thought that game was doing well, but to see it's being pulled, I'm just like, okay. So it's a very odd choice to be pulling that, but Chambers. So that's why you need to put in some work and get this Tetris beat before.
And I had to take a little break from it.
You could miss your chance. It could be gone any day now.
Yeah. I know. It's going to be that thing where I'm going to take off like days from work just to try and beat it when they announce they're taking that down. Like, fuck, I need this. Just give it to me. But, besides that, I finally went back, and Kevin and I might have some words about this. Finally went back and finished Sonic Adventure 2.
Ah, yes.
Kevin.
And you loved it,
The game's
right?
awful. It's awful. It's goddamn unplayable these days.
Okay, to be fair, I have not played it in a while, but I love the Sonic Adventure games. They're not great. They have their issues. They definitely do. But there's a certain charm to them that Sonic games prior and definitely after kind of don't have exactly. Like I'd say the Genesis Sonic games are probably better, but there's a certain something to those like 2 Dreamcast games. They're so good, and the GameCube ports especially are so fucking fun. But Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, actually, you know what? I just realized I'm wearing a Chow Garden T-shirt right now. Does this bother you, Jim?
You know what? It does a little bit.
He took it in. I mean, yeah.
This
It
is
really,
something-
And she is wearing that.
If this shirt offends you, I'll help you pack.
oh my god.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, like, man, I was just fucking miserable the whole time playing it. Like, the Sonic levels, like, Sonic gets uncontrollable, or he'll hit clip a wall, and, like, all momentum's gone. I'm like, oh, that's fun. And then the Tails levels are, like, fine, but they're boring. And then the Knuckles levels, you're just, like, aimlessly looking around for those goddamn shards.
Have you
I was
played
just like-
Sonic Adventure 1?
No, I never did.
Okay, because like that game is like, I feel like you would definitely hate parts of that. Like the cat sections are definitely like a divisive point of the game, because it's like you have the fast moving momentum of like Sonic, and even Tails like has like they're more like traditional like 3D platforming levels, and then the big levels it's like you have to fish for a frog, which I kind of like because it's just, I don't know, it's just so weird and out there, but it definitely does like mess with the pacing a little bit. But each character, similar to 2, has its own kind of story in a way. But
Yeah, I've always heard it was pretty cool, and like I do hear that it's even rougher to go back to play than even 2 is. So I'm like, oof, God. I think after playing through all of Shadow and Sonic Adventure 2, I need a Sonic break for like the rest of the year. And yeah, I mean, playing through Shadow 10 times for the real ending was more painful, but I think this just disappointed me more, because at least Shadow, I was like, I know going in, like, this is pretty bad. But
it's
Sonic,
10 times.
you have to beat it. You have to get all 10 endings before you can do the full ending. And it was a Patreon request, so like we had to get like all the
well, if
footage.
they're paying, yeah.
Yeah. So I couldn't just dig out on that one. And since I owed Brian a couple bad games to be played, that was my job.
All right. Let's not get too
Interesting.
crazy here.
Hey, can I ask then? I guess anyone has opinions, but it might be a Kevin question. If I have those Sonic Adventures on my backlog, the Steam versions, are those like worthwhile, or would you say, like what version should you play, or should I just not play them at all, Jim?
I
I
would
do have
say
one and
good
two.
luck.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Steam
Did you play the
versions.
Steam one, Jim?
No, I played Battle on the GameCube. So from talking to a bunch of Sonic people, apparently like control wise, I think the Dreamcast is still like kind of the best, and I know sound wise it definitely is, because all like the successor ports have had weird sound issues. Like even on the GameCube one, like they'll randomly start talking over each other, like during the dialogue sections, and I just hear like Steam and the HTV versions are just like even worse. So I don't know. It might be fun just for just like how much of a mess it might be. But
yeah.
yeah, good luck there. But yeah, besides
Thank
that,
you.
I blasted through a bunch of games. So Fight and Rage, which was like one of the part of the like the beat 'em up revival of like the last 10 years. I think originally came out on Steam like 2014, but we were sent a code. So I'll eventually do like a Let's Play or something of it. But really, really good. Really solid fighter. Beautiful pixel art. Nice little challenge to it. And like the checkpoints are fair. Like they even give you like a checkpoint right before the final boss, and that still took me like 15 to 20 tries to beat. And you really only go through like 2 sections. So it definitely like doesn't frustrate you. And it gives you like, I think almost a full alphabet's worth of endings. Cause like I got like ending H, and I was like, H, what the hell? So I think there's like actually like a shit, like there's like some decisions you can make, and like depending on how fast you do it.
That would like throw me off if I was like ending Q. How many times do I have to beat this?
Yeah.
Old QAnon Kevin, always getting that one, huh?
Yeah, the Q ending is the true one.
But yeah, I tried out the original Golden Axe, and it's okay. It's definitely old and aged, and the final level is just complete bullshit. So
What did you play that on?
I did on the Switch collection.
Yeah, I saw it on there. I was thinking about, I wanted to play that. I wanted to play what the fuck is it called? Pulseman, I think it's.
Oh yeah, I do want to get around to playing that.
Yeah, because that's by Game Freak pre-Pokemon.
Yeah, and that was what, Europe and Japan only, and was only like the Sega channel in North America, so of course no one played it back then. Yeah, I always heard that one was cool. But yeah, I would suggest for that last level, just fucking abuse save states. Don't put yourself through the hell.
That's like, honestly, like I think there's no shame in that, because like even going back to a lot of older games, it's like they can be a little bit unforgiving, but if you can use save states a little bit, it's like small quality of life changes, if you can call it that, just can really salvage the whole experience. Because the whole like checkpoint system, it's like if you're sending me back so far and I have to do so much again, it's like I only have so much time to do that, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, like I'm 37, like I don't have the time
Yeah,
to
let's
devote to
go.
playing through a 35-year-old game 40 times to finally beat one level. Like I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the next up was Tetris on the Game Boy. I was like, all right, let me get some more Tetris practice in, but without 99. And you can get like the actual ending super like you can skip right to the last level. Like set it to Type B, Speed 9, Lines 5, and if you beat that, you get the best ending. And I've been playing so much and failing. It's so much goddamn Tetris 99 in like the top 10 that I beat it in like 3 tries. I was like, oh, I guess this counts. Cool.
I'm going to say it doesn't count until you beat Tetris 99.
You shut your whore mouth. It counts.
Jim,
I need this. I need this. Just let me save some dignity.
You're going to beat Tetris 99. The floodgates are going to open. You're like, I just beat 5 games.
That's what Brian was saying. It's like you're going to beat the one and then it'll finally go off. And by then, I won't even want to play it anymore.
Do you think going back to the original is like helping you with Tetris 99? Like you're like going back, like it's like a Rocky training montage?
Oh, yeah. That's what I was planning on it being. But then, like, when I beat it, I was like, all right, I just put it away. Because, like, we also do this thing called 23 and 23 where we're trying to beat 23 new games to us. So I'm like, I was way behind on it. So I was like, I got to get some games out of the way.
That's a good
Because
one,
last year we
yeah.
did 50, and that, like, almost completely burned us out on playing games in general. So we're like, we cut that in half for this year. Little did we know that hashtag also, like, goes to a lot of, like, white girls celebrating their birthday. And so it's just all these posts are getting buried by girls there at a bar and shit like that.
And
That's
I played Sonic 2.
Yeah, hey, look at me. Hey, girls. And yeah, last up, the last Rocket Knight game that came out in like 2010. That's been sitting on my hard drive for like 5 years when it was free on Game Pass. And I like the old Rocket Knight game, so I was like, let me give it a go. And
Was that a
it was
Genesis
fine.
game?
Rocket Knight Adventures was Genesis, and then
Yeah.
there's one on Super NES and another sequel on Genesis, yeah. And then nothing for like 20 years. And then they randomly dropped this sequel. And it was fine. It was a decent way to spend 2 hours. It's nothing like amazing, but it played perfectly fine.
Nice. Yeah, my go-to, I mentioned this last podcast. So I actually did get FOMO for Tears of the Kingdom. And I went, you know what? Before I do that, I need to beat Breath of the Wild. Because previously I only put maybe 6 hours into it. And I burned out on it because I was like, these fucking weapons keep breaking. I was like, I don't like. It was just way too unstructured for me. Where I was like, I'm not enjoying this at all. So I was like, let me do that. So that's my new when I go pick up my son or when I have to take a shit game. Like I'm playing that. So I'm already much further in it than I was previously. I'm still very, very, very early on, but you know, I'm trying to save all opinions until I get deep enough to know. Is it really as good as everyone hailed it, or you know what is the magic sauce with that game? But outside of that, one game I know we will talk about a little bit more is one of the reviews we're doing is Body Harvest, and so I've been playing that one. So
Oh,
yeah,
really? I just like picked like a random game that they
when you mentioned it, I was like,
Yeah,
son
yeah.
of a bitch. I was like, yeah, I'm
Well,
currently deep
how do
in
you
that
feel
game.
about the placement on the list?
I
Pretty
think,
low.
I mean, pretty early on in the game already, I'm like, it's, if you could give points to that game for ambition, it would go higher. But what it turned out, I mean, the points that were made on the list for that game are pretty spot on. I mean, it's a mess. You're very stiff jumping, you're shooting, your draw distance, it's horseshit. It's very, very repetitive for all the wrong reasons. It's like, oh, another harvester landed.
I think
okay,
that
go
review
over.
was by our friend Slime to Garbage Man, if I remember correctly.
I was gonna say I pulled it up and yeah, we had it at 257 of 296. So
Yeah, it doesn't shock
yeah.
me.
You can blame him.
Well, it's funny because when playing it, I'm like, you know what? Let me see. Like, I want to hear someone talk about it who loves this game, and like, it is a lot of just like rose tinted. Like, well, it went through developmental hell. It was a predecessor because you know it ends up being Rockstar North who gave us GTA.
That's what my friend was saying. Is if there was no Body Harvest, there wouldn't be a GTA.
Yeah, but I don't put a lot of validity into those arguments. I'm like, but is the game still fun? And the answer is not really. So it's going to be interesting going all the way through it, but that's really where I've been, just those 2 games for right now. So that's been, and we love our patrons, but yeah, it's a very interesting game. But Chambers, what questions we got this week for these guys?
Yep, patreon.com/DrinkABeerandPlayAGame, where for as little as $2 a month, you can ask a question and we will answer on each and every single one of these Power Hour podcasts. So, first up from JD Maines. One, my nephew asked me, why does pooping feel good?
That should be like a double price. I mean, if he asked it through his nephew, I think his nephew should also pay the $2.
He should at least pay his uncle first, and then his uncle should double pay us. I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
But you should tell him that that's where the sin comes out, and then just leave it at that.
In some cases, that is true.
Yeah, it is.
That has saved many a hangover.
Yeah, just like that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of this Foster's will be leaving my body, much like the gloom in Tears of the Kingdom.
You son of a bitch.
I don't think there's much more you can add to that one. Next up from Gamer Astral. Which country would you guys move to if everything goes to shit in the U.S.? Cheers.
Huh. Well, I mean, I think we're all going to Japan, right, guys? We're gonna live in Akihabara district, the gamers' paradise, where all the coolest retro game shops are at, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not wrong, but I'm in southern Michigan, so I'm just going to probably hook it over to Canada if we're being realistic. I don't have the ambition.
Close enough.
I'm just going to go
I just
knock
wanna
on
live in a
Canada's
Gundam.
door.
Damn it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, part of me almost wants to be like, what are one of those countries where like everyone seems to be happy? Like, I don't know, like Sweden. It seems like everyone's in a good mood over there. You never hear them
Yeah.
about being miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently,
have to
like
be careful.
everything's paid for and provided for to you. So, I don't know,
Yeah.
might be nice. See what
You have
that's
to be
like.
careful. Like, don't go and catch their, 4 months of horrible, 20 hours of darkness. I don't know if Sweden has that exactly. You just have to be careful not to upset it and become like the grumpy American that moves into town. You know,
Yeah.
I
have to
thought you were
let
going to
let
say
their.
their horrible 4 months of PTO.
Oh no, yeah! Don't let them catch you with that shit. You reject that every chance you get. You come to work and you punch in. You work for a while, then you punch in.
Work
God
from
damn
home,
it.
not this remote garbage that's morally wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm definitely, I'm Europe. I would go Ireland, Germany, or, Norway or Sweden, one of those spots. Just after being over there, I'm like, yeah, I can see why people enjoy it over here. Pretty damn sweet. No, that's a good question, though.
Yep. Next up from Todd Harrod sucks. My 10-year-old keyboard finally died, so I've decided to buy a nice keyboard. What is the longest you went before replacing something that was in need of repair?
That is a good question.
I don't know if it's the longest, but I'll jump in real quick and say that I bought new Joy-Cons because I just knew I was going to throw my Switch into a fucking wall if I had to play it. It just was collecting dust. I was like, all right, Zelda, I got to play Zelda. I got to fucking finally do it. So probably a couple of years on that it just, and then, yeah. So that's probably longer than I should have to have replaced my Joy-Cons on the Nintendo Switch. I could have maybe even sent them in. I've done that once before, but I bought actually the nice, I forget the brand, Nori maybe or something. I don't know. Noki. Nor, yeah, kind of big. I got big hands in the little Switch. So I actually got nice ones. It was actually an opportunity to upgrade, but yeah, it was long overdue. I had the drift real bad.
Oh, is that the big ones with the red sticks on them that are
I have
offset like a 360?
Yeah, I've got a blue, it's a navy blue one, but yeah, it's just nice. The buttons are bigger and spaced out more, and it just feels more like a big thing, like Xbox controller or something.
You don't get that satisfying click and thumb pain from trying to hit the D-pad.
Yeah, and
Where's
you
the
can't
satisfaction?
You can't accidentally hit all 4 buttons with your big thumb.
Terrible design.
I don't know about the longest I went for something important. The dumbest recently is the lights in my garage are out for probably a good year and a half, and instead of just changing the lights, I would go in there and turn the light on my cell phone and be like, I'll get to that. So there are countless nights where I just stumbled over something because I just refused to go in there and just change a light bulb.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I'm struggling to think of something too, but I feel like some kind of home fixture issue. I think I've lights or something like that where I'm there's one bulb only left and it's super dim and I'm like, whatever, I can see.
Yeah,
it's all about waiting a long time to do basic repairs, and then when you do, you're like, this is so luxurious. There's a fucking light in my garage. This is great.
Yeah,
It's
or
like a
car
trick.
stuff. A lot of car stuff because I
Yeah,
live
right.
in Chicago and I have a car, but it's kind of hit or miss if I end up using it, because we got the train system here, but that's not always reliable. Or if I want to leave the city, and then when that ends up happening, I'm like, oh yeah, I have these other problems that are very expensive, and I remember why I was not attending to that because I forget about them until I have to use the car, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Kev. I have 2 car ones that are not related, but just same deal. My one, I had an old 96 or 97 Dodge Avenger, and after doing an interview that went terribly because I accidentally hit on the guy I was interviewing, his daughter at the reception, and proceeded to be like, yeah, I was just interviewing with this guy, but he was a real asshole. She's like, oh, that's my dad. I was like, okay, so I'm going to leave. I either forgot to, like, my car, the push button wasn't working to unlock it, and I went to pull my handle off, and I actually ripped the entire handle off.
Oh, God.
And so for a very long time, I just got in through the passenger side or left my window down a little bit. So yeah, I left way, way longer. I'm talking like 6 or 7 months. I was just like stubborn about it. I was like, fucking cheap thing. I was like, I'm just not going to replace it.
It's good. That's a whole day out. Like that's like a whole weekend day. You could be relaxing. It's like, that's the issue with all this stuff is it's like you only have so many days off, and then it's like your day off comes and you're like, I could either chill out or I could spend time getting this fixed or fixing it myself. And it's like,
yeah, and then in my truck, it ate one of my old CDs and couldn't eject. So I was like, I used, this is before you had USB shit, and it's an old truck. I would have the auxiliary cord that I would hook up into my Apple phone at the time, which still had the jack before they switched over to the goddamn micro C style. So until I had to switch phones, I was just rocking music that way, where I was just like, it was such a pain in the ass.
Where was it, just the one CD? Because I had a friend who had a Cypress Hill CD stuck in his car, and like that was always playing.
I was curious if you were stuck listening to the same CD.
No, well, that's the thing. So it's such an old radio that like I had one of my old, like from back in the day, like MP3 burn things, and I think that just fucked it up, and it didn't know how to read it, so I couldn't use it at all. And I still had all my old
CDR
CDs
or something.
Yeah,
CDRW.
so. Yeah, I left that until I went through a couple iPhones until it got to whatever the newer one was. And then I actually just replaced the whole unit myself. I was like, whatever. I was like, I'll just get a new one. So yeah, just car shit. That'll definitely do it for you.
Very expensive, very time consuming.
Mm-hmm. Now, good question.
All right, last up from Burn Retinas. What are your picks for the lamest name for a game console?
I think this person listens to Thought Cops too.
Actually, I think he does.
Yeah. Lamest name for a game console? You know what? I can't believe I'm saying this, and like I'm just throwing this out there. I feel like this is a name that we all just kind of accepted, and it was around for so long. But Game Boy. Like when you say, you don't really think about it, but when you break it down, it's like Game Boy. What about the girls? You know, what about everybody?
Is this a little boy?
Sexist, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's like a boy. It's like is a Super Nintendo a man? The Game Boy is a little boy.
They should have tried to even it up and called that one system Virtual Girl. Just see how that went.
Yeah, they could have sold more.
Yep.
One for the girls. The market was saturated.
Well, I think like that sort of like boy suffix they had. Yeah, Game Boy, Virtual Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color. I'm not surprised they ditched that like in the 2000s with like Nintendo DS, Nintendo 3DS, because I think that like my stupid kid brain at the time, I remember thinking like, do they only want boys to play this? You know, do only boys play video games?
It is funny you mentioned that too, because I remember in college, like Brian and I were in college around the mid 2000s. And we'd see a shitload of girls in class like playing like Brain Age or Picross or Nintendogs and stuff.
Because
on their
it's
DSs.
now for them too. They're like I can't play the Game Boy, but now that it's called something else, I can play it.
Yeah, Game Boy. I think the only thing that would beat that for me is I hate the naming convention for Xbox consoles.
Oh, it's so confusing.
Like Xbox One and then Xbox Series.
Yeah, everything
X,
since
like,
one. Yeah.
Like the fuck, it's like how
Mortal
stupid.
Kombat is doing that now too. Mortal Kombat 1.
I know. I have a problem with it. The only thing, and then Jim mentioned it before, like it makes sense because you reset the timeline, but god damn it, do I hate it, because now you always have to asterisk when you say Mortal Kombat are you talking
You're not
about?
even, yeah.
Yeah, you're like
Yeah.
which
You
Well,
say
year
Mortal
are you
Kombat
talking
1,
about?
you're not even being specific enough.
2023 in little parentheses. God
Exactly.
damn it.
I hate that. Like so.
Yeah.
But so yeah,
Doom
Xbox like
2016.
it's lazy as shit. Xbox One, Xbox Series X, like it's just so silly. I don't know what they could have done differently. Instead, could they have just done Xbox 2?
1, 2, 3. It's not
know.
hard.
It
Just
would
fucking
make
do
sense, but
Xbox
yeah.
720.
Yeah,
Xbox 1080. Let's keep it
Yeah.
going.
exactly. Yeah,
And then
360
start throwing in,
fine.
then tricks, the 1080 mute grab, the 1080
Yeah, they're gonna run out eventually.
slide.
So
1080 nose manual into 50.
What about you guys?
What about the Wii U? Is kind of like a they didn't do themselves any favors with that.
yeah, that,
failure of a system?
It's just like, yeah, it probably would have had trouble no matter what, but that just like that's just a log on the fire, right? Of just like, is this an add-on? What do I need? What do I have? Like, I think we probably all got it, but I think they just like, when you certainly came on the heels of this system that had huge crossover success, then they made like a very sort of to a lot of the people that were now playing Wii Sports and shit like that, it was probably pretty indecipherable, I would think,
I
right?
think it's the casual audience because I've thought about that, and I would use like the parallel of like the Super Nintendo and the NES. It's like NES, Super NES. I wonder if some people saw the Super NES and also thought it was an add-on. But I don't know. For some reason, the marketing or something for that seemed to have worked. But the Wii and Wii U did not click. They could have called it the Super Wii. Was it
Yeah.
not called the? Was it called the Super Wii in Japan, or am I just making that up?
It should have been, but
Maybe-
I don't
maybe
know.
that- maybe that's what it was. I think I was like, if I was in charge.
Yeah.
Just called it the Swee.
Yeah, yeah, that would be so cool. Oh, I'm playing Swee.
Yeah. Do you think the best thing Nintendo could do is just announce like, it's just, hey, Super Switch. It's the Switch, but it's like 4K and it's
If
and
I
it's
was
all
in
the
charge,
stuff.
yeah,
like,
I'm just obsessed with the word super. So yeah.
The Super Switch would be tight.
Just calling it, but then it just gets called the SS for short, and you're like,
Oh yeah.
Then
Hey,
there's
maybe don't
there's
do
trouble
that.
there. There's trouble there.
And
Yeah.
it's too late. It's already out there. I mean, like the Nintendo 64 actually was going to be called the Ultra 64, which I
Yeah.
actually would have preferred because you had NES, Super NES, or Super Nintendo, Ultra Nintendo. You know how cool is that?
yeah.
Even the Wii, that was going to be called the Revolution. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
this sounds
that's right. I
badass.
remember
Motion
that.
controls, Revolution, and it's like, Wii. What?
That, honestly, I think they lost a lot of credibility with a lot of people when they didn't go with the Nintendo Revolution. You remember that? And it was going to come in like all these different colors, like lime green and red and all this stuff. It was like the Revolution, and then it's like,
Yeah.
waggle.
I guess Grandma will like this.
Yeah. I mean, if
Yeah.
you say revolution to grandma, she's going to get kind of scared. Like, is it a communist takeover?
She's been through some revolutions, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah.
She's
It would be
some.
triggering.
Yeah, then you just give her a DS to calm down.
You couldn't put that in the nursing home.
Yeah, I guess my answer would be like the Tiger Gamecom or a Game.com. So it's written out as like .com, but you call it the Gamecom. It's just stupid and confusing. Like they didn't even know how you're supposed to say it or what it was supposed to be. So
I mean, I don't even know what that is, so that's
Yeah.
evidence that it did not work.
it was this like handheld thing from the late '90s, but it had like the monochromatic like LCD screen from like a Tiger handheld.
Oh,
But like
yeah.
it was like one of the first ones with like online and email, and it had two cartridge slots, so you could play 2 games at once.
Who's
but
asking
only
for
wound
the
up-
Game & Watch online at that point?
Yeah, basically. And like that would have been way better. But yeah, I mean it only like wound up having like 15 games or something. Like it failed instantly. But it had like random ports of like Resident Evil 2 and like its own dedicated Sonic game and all kinds of shit. So like it had money put into it at first and then it just fizzled out. Also like the Wii U.
Interesting.
But yeah, that wraps up the questions for this week. So once again, thank you to all the patrons out there for the questions and support. Make sure to head on over to Patreon and check out all the tiers for game review requests, movie review requests, bonus episodes, and we're on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Head on over to the other platforms, check them out, leave some subs, leave some reviews, helps out the page.
No, we truly, truly appreciate it, guys. Thank you. All right, gents. So the real reason we're here. So Mark, Kev, you guys, you put out the link that we have in here, and it caught a lot of people's eyes. You played and ranked every N64 game. You crazy bastards. So, first of all, I know it was a big effort, and you had the whole staff chipping in. the first thing I got to ask right off the bat is someone who loves making his list, and I drive myself crazy with like how do you arrange them or whatever with so many different folks. Like, how do you come together like and decide like this is the actual ranking? Like, is it a mathematical thing? Is it just a gut check thing? Like, how does that even work?
We had never done anything like this, and I will fully take either the, most likely the blame if we got it wrong or anything. But I just asked everyone to give me, whether it be an estimate, a range, letter grade, ended up working out pretty well. And then I think at some point I decided, again, just having not ever shouldered anything like to this scale before, just saying like, I could pull my hair out and try to figure out if the fucking Namco collection is better than Madden 2002 or some apples and oranges thing, or I could just make some decision. At the end of the day, we get to prop up and hide behind the fact that we're ultimately a comedy website, which I'm very proud of, but also it's just like, yeah, man, if we blew it academically, I don't know what to tell you. We cut our teeth on the internet joking about Waluigi's foreskin. So like, this is
yeah, go read the GQ list.
It's just kind of, and that's kind of a cop out because we do work hard and we do want it to be taken seriously. So I'm aware of that potential there, but no, so I just, I tried to just kind of sequence it really well. I didn't want it to get too clogged up. I wanted it to be readable. So when 1/3 of them are bad sports games, there was attention paid to just kind of spacing those out. And if that ended up making you go, what? No way, this game is better than that game. It's like, yeah, right. You're probably right. I don't know what to say. That kind of thing. I guess I made that decision, like, because, look, whatever you put at number one, there's going to be like X number of gamers that are going to say this is an unserious list because obviously Perfect Dark is the number one game, or obviously Zelda's the number one game. There's no way around Zelda. Just whatever you do, you're going to like do that. So I just kind of decided a little bit like not to sweat it too hard. And with that though, also based on once it certainly got to the top 5 or top 10, that kind of range, I thought, our friend that Walker that wrote the Body Harvest thing also just wrote a very convincing number 1 entry for GoldenEye, and Joe Tillelli wrote a very convincing number 2 entry for Mario 64. Chandler Dean wrote a great thing about Donkey Kong 64 that was like, hey, this is probably higher than a lot of people would have it, but here's why I think it should be.
I think you're triggering these guys over here. They put up a hateful video essay about that game.
That's why I said names and everything, and I'm just here saying why I did what I did.
We're going to get back to that.
But
you know who to talk to.
I will say, yeah, and again, now I should talk about something else at this point, but the Donkey Kong 64 was specifically like cited by some people, the Donkey Kong 64, some supporters of it online were like, yo, this is some of the best shit on Donkey Kong 64 that we've ever read, which, maybe because there shouldn't be that much good things said about it, one could argue. I don't know, but so just stuff like that I thought would be convincing. And then we flew certain flags too. If someone else was in charge of the list, WWF No Mercy might not have made the top 5, but I am, so it did. There's going to be a little bit of that there, I think. But again, too, just to also try to. It's tough when you take on all of anything. It like I said, it becomes tough. How do sports games go in against games that hold up versus games that were important versus whatever. So at the end of the day, I just tried to make every set of 10 things a really good page of the website that had maybe a good the flow is not the most important thing, but it's almost just like, well, when in doubt, I just reverted to that a little bit and didn't lose sleep over it too much, I hope.
Now, I feel like
sorry to cut you off, Brian. I gotta say something real quick. So, Kevin, you're the anime fan here. You like your manga. So I guess you're the fan of all the filler arcs, right? Like you like Inuyasha. You like it during the middle between seasons 1 and 2 when there's 700 episodes of filler.
No, I
don't. Is that what you enjoy? Is that what you like?
I hate the filler arcs, Jim. I hate them.
So why do you like a game that's nothing but filler?
DK64? Okay, listen. That was Chandler's review, not mine, but I do stand by it. I will say that. No, I think, like, okay.
Oh.
It's actually funny. Even, like, playing Tears of the Kingdom, that is a bloated-ass game. And I do think because of that, people are going to kind of come around on DK64 a little bit, too. You know what? Maybe we're a little harsh on this. And I actually saw some comments and replies to the hard drive because I feel like that was the big sticking point. One of the biggest sticking points of the list was like the DK64 placement, where people were saying like you only have to get like half of the collectibles to beat it. You don't have to get all of them. It's like an open world game. You don't have to 100% Breath of the Wild, but you can if you want. So we'll see. I think that's I do think personally. I think like Banjo-Kazooie is a better game in that genre. But as Chandler put it in his review, DK64 is so emblematic of that era of like maximalist game design of the Nintendo 64, especially the later games, because you started off strong. Mario 64, Zelda Ocarina of Time, Pilot Wings. Where do you go from Pilot Wings? No, so then they made these bigger and bigger games for the system. And DK64 was like, towards the end of that, and it was like, we have to be bigger than Mario 64. How do we do that? 5 playable characters, 1,000 bananas. They were just following the trends.
Sons of bitches. I mean, here's the deal. That game, the problem with that game, and like I said, it's how it's written is definitely not wrong, but like how I
you
read
didn't like
that
the story, okay?
Like how I read that though is like I took it that entry being there as the hot take of the entire as the thing that's like, oh no, we're gonna make sure we have it here just because like there's part of it, of course, it has to go through all your guys' minds. Like we know this one's gonna piss a lot of people off. It's going to be a talking point because like you said, Mark, the number one, of course, like before I even looked at it, I was like, there's only so many it could be. I was actually shocked to see GoldenEye because I'm so used to Mario 64 or Legend of Zelda. I knew it could only be one of those.
Yeah.
So
same.
when I saw GoldenEye, I went, okay, but I could see that argument because even more than Legend of Zelda and Mario, like the casual fan knows GoldenEye really well, and as it's pointed out in the article, like when you say GoldenEye, no one thinks of the movie first ever. Like you automatically go to the game, and it's like, I actually saw it. I went, you know what? That makes complete sense. But Donkey Kong F4, man, I went, all right. So this is someone fucking with me now. And when it starts,
Donkey Kong's at 4, Mario Kart's at 44. What the god fucking damn?
All I can say in my defense is thanks for reading the whole thing.
I mean, we went through it.
Any haters out there?
I mean, here's the deal. Yeah, but what I do love, and this is the number one both fun and problem with any list is you're never going to please everyone. You're going to have certain takes that are definitely going to piss some people off. I argue that for you guys, was it just as hard as figuring out what's going to be the top 10 worst of that list? Because there's a lot of stinkers on the N64, even with such a small library. And you did, Mark, I know you played it and you wrote it yourself for the Batman game, the
lowest
Beyond,
one, yeah.
Batman Beyond. So you wrote the worst one. I mean, you look at that, and right after that, you got Carmageddon 64. You got Superman, which, is usually hailed as one of the worst ones. Like,
yeah,
I would argue picking the worst is just as critical as picking the best. So, like, I'm curious when you did that, like, you clearly had conviction with that game.
I think so. I hated it so much that maybe that was a bit of a power move. That the guy that gets final say. Like, I didn't listen, guys. I didn't play. I think Kevin, tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a few of us look. I didn't play anything near the top 10, so let me have the luxury of this. But no. But no, I just, it was something that was just one of the first things I wrote for it too. And so it was like early on in the project, I sent like a sample of like a handful of things, so just like, it just always kind of like, it felt like a good first one from the beginning in a way. Could have changed it. Maybe it's a bit of a thing too, that Superman's the obvious one. So,
that's too obvious,
if I could get you,
it's good. It wasn't like,
it's like we're splitting hairs and someone 294 out of 296 or something. So I just thought it'd be like much like if I will plead full apathy in that Donkey Kong 64 is just not a game I'm familiar with,
Yeah.
And I've even I think I tried to play it and had trouble emulating it. It was like, okay,
he's got the notes app apology already.
Yeah, no, exactly. I've got it working on it here on the other monitor as we
He's
speak.
separating himself from it.
I was thinking we're a very pro Kong list too because we put Diddy Kong Racing very high, so I didn't really make that with you. But no, so yeah, with the Batman one, I just thought maybe that's the thing. It's just like I don't know if it's truly worse than Superman, but it ought to have some points in its favor for being as bad as Super. Or you know what I mean? Like it's a discussion we ought to have. So if I have any weight to throw around there. And also just too, at some point, there's like there's maybe like 15 to 25 or something, just really failing grade games. I just at some point, he was like, I like try to get different writers involved or like show it off in the first page or two of it. Things that might, you could say that's not very good games journalism. And I again would point you to, thanks for following HardDrive. I'm sorry for the cop out, but just like this is what it's going to be a little bit. It's ultimately a comedy piece. It's loaded with jokes. Yeah. That's kind of, I saw one, I never quite thought of it like this. So I saw someone say like, oh, I get it. The punchline is that they actually did it. And I think that's fair. It's pretty, I like that.
Now,
was
let me
funny
ask you.
Sorry,
go ahead, Jim.
Sorry to interrupt you one more time. But no, it was funny to see on gaming Twitter, just like, there was, besides just like, wow, these guys actually did it, was also like the utter confusion. Like, and it didn't seem like anyone really knew how to take it either. Yeah. Like, is it supposed to be satire? Are they being really serious about this? Or did they really mean to put this here?
Mm-hmm. People love mystery.
And it's fun. It's like, holy shit, there's 29 pages in here and all that. And it's just like, yeah, it's a bit of everything. Like, there's kind of some satirical reviews the more I kind of look at it. Like Kevin will probably attest to this. As I said, like, I don't want us to be satirical, but like, there's brazen, like, made up stuff, and we talk shit and do whatever. You know what I mean? So I guess I don't know. Is it satirical? I don't know.
I mean, when I did about like 25 games on here, and like I got a rhythm for them as I did more of them, and it was like I would play because like some games I was like, super familiar with, some games I did play as a kid and had to go back to, and some games I had never even heard of. But in playing them, it was like I would take notes, like, okay, here's like issues about graphics, audio, things like that. And then kind of like taking notes for like jokes and stuff too. Like, what's a funny thing I could say about this? What's an interesting observation I could say? And then blending it up that way, I feel like that ended up working for me.
Yeah, and I think that's a thing too. Again, not to like, these. I would say this too. Like, these weren't like reviews. They kind of are, but like what I asked people to do was like, give me an impression that you played it, please, and say something funny. So like, that becomes too. It's tough because there's all these games that are so low. It's like I didn't want it to be like the first 5 pages are just like nothing but like black cynicism and just all of these are awful kind of thing, too. So it also becomes important to maybe there's like a fun way to shit on this or something like that. And so that kind of became the thing too, because honestly, I don't know if you really just like put the worst games and gave them a fair, I don't know, babbling a little bit, but like. We there's it's a library with like I think if you look at the list, my impression at some point there's a drop off after like 40 or 50 where all the games are just like not that great, maybe
Oh yeah.
So it's always going to be like someone else could do a list of 296 and it would look radically different, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably fair too.
I think they're going to have a lot of the same ones like near the top though, because I think like we were saying, like the N64, it has a lot of duds on it because it was super early in that 3D transition. But
yeah,
I mean, like some of the games on here that are at the top of this list are probably at the top of a lot of people's lists. Not all of them. I don't think WCW is going to be at the top of like maybe somebody else's. But that makes this unique,
Yeah, and that's such a I guess that's true of most games. It could just mean like WWF No Mercy means absolutely nothing to some people, and some people are just like, what? It's only number 5. It's the best,
Right.
Yeah.
But like some games on the 64 are like stone cold classics that are still heralded as like this is the fucking peak. This is the blueprint of like how games should be. Like Mario 64, Zelda: Ocarina of Time, things like that. GoldenEye, even to some extent. People I've seen people say like, oh, that game is aged poorly, but it's like it brings up an interesting discussion about how to talk about older games. Is like less about, for me, it's like maybe less about how they hold up and more about like their legacy, how important they are in a way,
Yeah. No, so here's a question I have. So roughly how many reviewers did you have writing for this?
We had right around 20. Okay. A handful of them just did a few. A lot of people contributed a few. Kevin did 25. He might have been him and our guy Seth Finkelstein. Both were in that 25 range. I think Chandler Dean did like a 20 or so. A few people did about 20. Yeah. So I'd say there's a core of 6 to 8 people that kicked in about 10 to 20. Being the kind of the writer on staff for HardDrive, I ended up around 100 of the 300 nearly, and yeah,
Well, so
And-
I asked that for a specific reason because, you got all of us here are roughly same age, kind of same experience, grew up, kind of playing the same game. I'd be so fascinated by a group of younger that didn't grow up with the system, don't have any nostalgia, playing
Yeah.
it rough. How they would actually feel about these games. Like to Kevin's point,
Yeah.
like did these games age poorly? Yeah, to a newcomer, they're all going to be just blasted. But like,
Rough.
what ones would actually rise? Like, would it still rise to the top without the nostalgia of all of this pieces? Like, and that's why I was curious. Like, did some of your youngest writers on here like give you some really surprising write ups where you're like, oh, that's a different take I wasn't expecting.
I kind of felt like that because I do feel like a lot of the writers they're a little bit not younger, but they're younger than us. Like I'm in my
Yeah.
early 30s. Like a lot of people are mid 20s, late 20s, stuff like that. It seems like, and I think a lot of people were playing a lot of games for the first time, and I think that because I've been going through the list myself, and like I was happy to see people like discover new games maybe they even love. Like that's how I felt. Like even like some games I was playing and like one in Doom 64 I never played as a kid, but like I played it for this list and I was like, this game is like fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
fun. I think a
That
lot
might
of
be
people
if you
found
talk
some-
about what's held up. Like if you play Doom 64 right now, you won't be like, "Oh, this is good for an N64 game" or something. Like it's just a
You
full
just
blown.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
like I said, I love lists like this. And Mark, to your point, like it's an impossibility. How do you actually quantify something as as subjective as like graphics of Wave Race 64 versus Doom 64? Like you can't you some things you just can't put a pin very precise number on. But like I said, I do like the varying styles. I do like the writing types, but like I said, your only mistake is Donkey Kong 64 number
That's
4.
fair. Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. If you think I made one mistake, that is like honestly
pretty good hours.
very fair. Like yeah, I will take that and I will say thank you, noted, and I will let Chandler know. I'll let Chandler know. I'll get
I
involved.
mean, Jim, you're the one that I imagine is the most butthurt with Star Fox 64 not breaking the top 10.
I was a little hurt about it. At least Kevin gave
Oh,
a
that's
beautiful
mine,
write-up
yeah,
for it.
Yeah.
Kevin probably. I felt bad too because I'm sure a lot of people wrote about games that they would have personally loved to have be in the top.
That was a very
top.
special game to me. I was like,
I could tell.
I played that so much when I was a kid, and I'm like, I am gonna just give this exactly what it needs. But I'm happy it's out there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, what do you call it? Like Rogue Squadron and like Star Fox, one right after the other, and I was like, right outside the top 10. God damn it, these are my favorites. But outside of Donkey Kong, I couldn't complain about the other ones either in the top 10. So
That's fair.
If like it said. And actually, what do you call it? Before we move on with this one too, everyone go make sure you check out Thought Cops episode 299. So
Oh, yeah,
Mark
I
was
did hear
on
about
that
this.
episode, and it was right before they released the article. So it was a lot of talking to them about the background for it, like even more in depth than we did here. Like their process for going through it, how they actually like got around to playing the games and making them work on their computers, because God knows you guys weren't going to be tracking down all 300 of these fucking games.
No.
So like the fun you had trying to emulate all this and getting stuff to work. So definitely go over and make sure you check out that episode.
And
so
we
you can
deleted
hear
that
it.
emulator within 23 hours.
23 hours, man. Every morning, it's part of my routine. Brush my teeth. Chuck the emulators out. Download what I need for the day.
Well, it's funny because going through this, like Jim and I have talked about this. I have played a healthy amount, but not nowhere near as much as Jim. One thing I will say, it definitely seemed like right off the bat after the first page, I was like, man, I don't think these guys like any of the South Park games. And when Jim and I did all the reviews, it's funny because
They did not.
I'm like, we've talked about like the gazillion Mario Kart clones and how that the South Park one, I was like, oh, it's just terrible like one-liners over and over. But like surprisingly, we thought it was like, oh, it held up, and then to see it on page 1, I was like, son of a bitch, they did not like that.
Can I tell you guys that? Do you want to know that Chandler Dean wrote that, the same author as our Donkey Kong 64?
It makes
So
it's making more sense.
boy.
This Chandler, I don't know about this guy.
You might need to track this guy down.
Yeah.
You unlocked a core memory for me because when I first discovered you guys, like Drink a Beer and Play a Game, I think the first video I watched from you was one of your South Park 64 reviews.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
And I remember, I remember this. Actually, I remember when we had you guys on Thought Cops for the first time, I think I remember bonding with you guys over the fact that we had kind of like this love for these like bizarre N64 games. That like, because you guys were talking about a lot of weird N64 games on YouTube that I feel like a lot of people don't, or they just gloss over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
'cause
like
we-
especially with the South Parks, like they're all goofy and weird and flawed, but like there's something you can pull from all of them. Like Rally, like Rally's biggest problem is like the difficulty curve. Like you can either get real lucky or you'll just get your ass kicked and you'll hate it instantly.
As I can recall, because I plead ignorance on that one too, but our writer said, is it kind of maybe hard to discern what you're meant to sort of do in the moment? Is that something that you recall at all? Like maybe the track, I don't know what it is
Yeah.
like.
It's weirdly open-ended. Like it's basically they'll give you like there's a couple core different mission types. So like it could be go around and kill everyone, or go around and collect this number of things first, or hit the like it's not even true laps, but like these lap portal kind of deals. So it's weird, and it's like not your standard kart racer or really any kind of racer. But I was like, man, even just for like the creativity here, it should have gotten more than just first page. Jesus.
The original open world, as Chandler put it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
I wrote I'll stand by the bad review of the first person. I wouldn't say shooter. I'd say snowball thrower. I wrote that. My take on that is like it's just such an insanely missed opportunity to have just been like such a huge game for me and my friends and everyone else of our age. Like if it had been like a solid 4-player first person shooter and had that South Park IP in, I don't know, 97 or 98 or whatever year we're talking, like, oh, it would have just been a childhood staple.
biggest.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I think it's like I would say if it was playable, it would have been a hit.
That could have been the game.
Well-
People hear South Park, they think of the game, not the show.
Yeah.
You know?
Obviously.
Well, it's
Yeah.
funny because South Park has been like all those games that are on there, like Chef's Love Shack. They're all just takes on Mario Party, Mario Kart, and then with the South Park game itself, it's GoldenEye, it's FPSs. But it's funny because I think the problem with those games is you didn't have Matt and Trey probably as involved, whereas later in life when they did Stick of Truth and they were. That to me is one of the best modern RPGs because they're mocking it, but they're paying homage to it, and it has all the right humor in it. Whereas those games were just kind of like you could tell, hand it off to somebody. Let's just throw one-liners and some, gross out humor, and it just didn't land. But
Definitely
like
not
I
the
said,
same as those games. Like feel like every nook and cranny feels like the show, or like
Exactly.
yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, now
but-
you mention it, it kind of reminds me of like the Beavis and Butthead games in like the 16-bit era, where there's nothing but one-liners thrown in. The game that just like doesn't control well. Only you
Yeah.
had that 4 times on the N64.
I don't like that game. I kind of like have a weird love-hate where it's like it's obviously not a great game for everything you just said. The controls specifically, I think, are just atrocious. But like I play through it every so often just to like get to the Guar concert at the end.
Oh, I do the same.
It's just
funny
so
because
cool. It's so
they
cool.
change the names on the T-shirts to be like Skull and Bones or something like that.
Death
where it
Rock
wasn't-
and I think like there was a ton of like there was a wave of Beavis and Butthead just merchandise and stuff where however that shook out AC/DC and Metallica, right? Didn't want to, I don't know,
Didn't
but
wanna
yeah.
be associated.
People don't really talk about that. That was probably really big for AC/DC and Metallica, for Beavis and Butthead to be wearing their T-shirts in every episode.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know the details, but I guess it tracks with what we know about Metallica being famously maybe a little, I don't know what you'd say, litigious and prickly. I don't know.
I feel like Ween wouldn't have been that hard to talk into it. Ween probably would have been like, yeah, put it on all the shirts. Who cares?
Yeah, I can see that.
Now let me ask you guys. So now that you've done this, I'm sure, is there anything in the works for any other systems, or was this truly a one-off, play them all, do it all, or is there something else in your sight?
I think it was an undertaking, of course, and so with that there was like the unfun part of it is talking about like like we did resources. I wrote less satire articles for the website while we did this stuff like that, right? So now that it's out there and it's gone well, I can tell you I'm not being tricky at all. But there is no official plans, but we all just like want to, and I think the success is as such that we'll be able to, and we might just have to figure out the best. I'm excited to like hopefully, tweak the machine a little bit more. Do it again with something else and stuff like that. So I think based on the success and based on everyone's enthusiasm and just the fact that we were able to pull it off, it's a soft probably. I wish I could do better, but like there's definitely a group of people that are all like, hey, what's next? So I think we'll figure something out. Is the best I can do.
Yeah, I think that was also like a genius console to pick too, because it's like the right combination of like success of a console with games people know, with nostalgia, and with a library that wouldn't kill you. Like, it's not like
exactly,
you did like
yes.
the original PlayStation and did like 1,200 games
I
or
know,
something like that.
I know, and that becomes a thing if we do it again. If we just don't even know if it's going to be another library. I think I'd probably like for it to be, but maybe there's some other hook we come up with. I don't know, but let's just say it's library. You start to think about at least like well. It'd be nice if it was from a different era of gaming. So now I'm going to figure maybe library size and that, maybe, but maybe not, because maybe like the size is such an important thing, like my dream of dreams would be the NES, but that's somewhere between, if we're talking, it's like 800 to 1,000 or something. I'm not all the way sure.
I think it's just shy of 700, but still.
Oh, okay,
double the work.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So something like that. Maybe one day, maybe we build our, we're just this big Katamari of writers, and we can one day throw 100 people at that library and get it done or something. Maybe, but that seems like maybe not quite yet. So yeah, I guess there's a few that come to mind, but I don't want to say too much.
No, I don't blame you. Yeah, because like to your point of hitting that nice thing of successful, because you could always do 32x at 40 games, but it's like nobody cared about 32x that much. Let's be honest. So why would you do that? But no, it is awesome. And like I said, I do love reading it. And I would strongly suggest, as you said, people's attention. I like that first page. Definitely right off the bat hit you with some titles where you go, oh, wow, it's already here. So the searching for the title is, I think, part of the fun, too. After you see what's first, what's last, really digging in and seeing it. Like I said, it is a really, really well done article. So
I also want to mention there's a really great video version of this list.
Yeah.
For anybody who maybe
I
for some
watched
reason
that. Yeah.
doesn't know how to read. You could check that out.
yeah. Brad's great. Our YouTube guy, Fudge.
Fudge is awesome.
Took the list and ran with it, but obviously did his thing and just like skipping to, I haven't watched the whole hour yet, but he sent us like the first 20 minutes at some point when it was in progress and things like that. And I've skipped around it. And I know I saw the thing that you put up where he's riffing and going, goofing on the margins and stuff like that. So it's like this other layer. And, I don't know if this is like a positive racism thing to say, but like having like a British YouTube guy is just like when he sent me that thing and when he was reading the shit that I wrote, I was like, oh, this is like what writers feel like when they write a screenplay and then one day it's like a real movie. They're on the set. I'm like, a British guy's doing a YouTube video. This is so fucking cool. And like making the jokes all funnier than they should be. Like,
that's
oh
how
my
I
God.
felt like he was like reading my words about Buck Bumble. I'm like, wow, I feel like a really special guy.
Dude, when the video started, I was like, this doesn't sound like Kevin and Mark. Like, I'm like, this, who the fuck is it? I said, did I click on the wrong thing? And then I was like, oh, no, it is. And of course, once he got Donkey Kong, leave it to a Brit to stick up for that goddamn game because they love that game.
Oh,
so
They made the Brits, are much, as much as Miyamoto, the fathers of Donkey Kong and the Kong Brethren in some ways.
They stand up for their rares.
Yeah.
They definitely do.
Do you guys know I worked on this for months and I just in this moment realized we got a British guy to do the North American video, so I hope that wasn't weird for him.
There's so many.
I don't know.
There's so many titles out there we didn't discuss.
What is all this? Yeah, exactly.
Well, if it was just
Sorry,
like the
Brad.
European releases, it would have been like 10 games. So.
That's what. Yeah, right. That's not gonna. Yeah, okay. But
Well, we'll do a
you're
PAL
right,
version.
Yeah, but no, I mean,
You'll
I
have
guess,
to put the video at half speed, though. You have
Yeah.
to keep it legit.
Right.
So,
But no,
Mark, has this stained you for N64 games now for like quite a while?
Oh my God! I thought it had, but then just like it makes me really want to play a few games I still haven't played, which at this point are few and far between.
Okay.
And there's some like I think I'm good on like first wave 3D kind of like I want to play like I've not played the first Paper Mario and I've played some later Paper Marios, so that's when I still think like then I read it and it got a good it got a nice write up and stuff like that. So I think I feel like there's a handful of what do you call it, sort of blind spot games I need to check off. But I will say since then when I'm playing older games, I did kind of start playing stuff from like GameCube or PS2, and it is such just like it's one generation, but it is such like I get why games got better after this, but they didn't have to for me personally. This would have been fine. Like I understand the whole thing and I like all the new games, but like this just feels like what I need out of it, or you know what I mean? Not that I don't appreciate older stuff, of course, but yeah. So in a way, it's like maybe that won't last, but yeah, for right now, it's just like I'm just ready for a little bit more fully realized. If it's going to be a 3D game, I'm going to play. I actually, because of Seth mentioned it in his Superman review, I finally played Hulk. I can't remember the name right now.
The one
Ultimate
with the
Destruction.
cars for box.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Oh, it's incredible. It's so fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Different
we actually
experience.
reviewed that years ago. That's one of my favorite games from that era. Like
It is. Yeah, it had been sort of on my list, and then just like that was the thing to just like when I was like off of N64, but wanting to kind of maybe scratch some kind of a older game itch or something. Yeah. But I did just want to make sure I thanked you guys for all of your nice words and having me on and reading the list and appreciating it. And of course, everyone's always going to have qualms with a thing like that. And, you know, it just, I appreciate it, all of the feedback, everything. You know, it's, it really is cool to, like I said, have it go out there and obviously have people read this whole fucking thing. This thing is 50,000 words. I kept updating everybody because at one point we were working on it. I think I said this on Thought Cops too, but like I was separately working on that, and I just happened to read something that said how long the Unabomber's manifesto was, and it was like 40,000 words. And I was like, oh, we're doing a manifesto.
You're like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's us. All
Watch
right,
out,
here's
Ted.
ours. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
There's your new unit of measure, 1.25 Kaczynskis.
That's right. That's right. We're a little bit over it. That's right. Yeah. But and with that, what you were saying too, it was always part of it was just like, you know, there's been a lot of top 10, top 25, top 50 or whatever, but it's like we wanted to dive in, man, because everybody, and I spoke to this a little bit in like the little intro write-up thing. It's just like everybody's experience with the N64 is you kind of had Mario, you had GoldenEye, you had Rogue Squadron, but you had a weird licensed game that your well-intentioned aunt got you, or you had a weird racing game, or like 5 weird racing games or something like that. So it was
So many.
important. Yeah, it was important that whatever game you had on your mind, you'd like find something that was written with a little bit of not only hopefully, you know, like we did our job and we're funny, but also like I'll be damned, they like played it. This comes from someone who played it, you know.
Who knows the games. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure. And that's what I said. It definitely feels like that piece comes across because each one does feel personal. I feel, other than, what's his name,
Chandler Dean.
Chandler.
Hey.
Hating on my South Park and giving Donkey
Well, you know what
Kong
I will say.
64.
Talk about finding your villain.
Yeah.
That was a Chad move, though, putting DK64 up that high.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, that's right.
Son of a bitch.
Oh shit.
That's right.
Now, but like I said, now great work on our article, guys. It if anyone hasn't read it, please make sure to click it and also watch the YouTube video too, because I said I actually did both, and I like, said, yeah, it threw me hearing that British accent.
It's really
I was
cool.
like-
It's the British accent, and just it's like when you when like maybe you hear a book on tape and it's from the author itself, and there's maybe the same content but in a fun different way, where it's almost this alternative version of kind of the same stuff. It's not just the same exact thing. So I think that's great. And even just like I think Kevin said, if you just don't feel like reading, it's there too.
Or don't know how to, you know?
If you don't know how to.
Words is hard, so.
And he did a great job. He's got all the footage and stuff, and that's something our list doesn't do. Is to, you know, we talk about a lot of stuff, and again, if we've done a good job, you can kind of get what it's mean. But just to, you know, see a thing in action, to kind of go with some of it helps bring a lot of the copy to life, I think too. So it's a really cool thing. he did.
I'm a big fan of his YouTube videos, and then like when he started doing HardDrive, it was like it just felt like the perfect mold, you know?
Yeah. No.
Oh yeah, no, all the videos he's been putting up lately on HardDrive have been great. So definitely go make sure you guys check out HardDrive, give it subs over on YouTube because they put a lot of work into them too. It's high quality stuff. And it's actually still funny too, which is the most important thing.
It's you know, like I said, it's like I do want to do a good job and everything, but that will forever be the you know, the true north of it all. Is just trying to be funny.
You're still just putting off playing Earthbound finally, aren't you?
No, dude, that's me acting, man. I know Earthbound, but that's just me acting my ass off.
Yeah, for anyone out there, like HardDrive's great because like they can just become a meme based on a headline. So if you've ever seen the Earthbound superfan ready to play a game for first time, that's Mark right here.
That's me. I've seen it made into, I want to say like Yakuza or something like that, or something. You know, when it starts getting made. Now it's not that prevalent, but it's like
I've seen
it
other
made into
versions of it too, where it's you, but they change your TV to be something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of
You
fun.
were the RetroPie 2 guy, right?
Oh no, I know what the one you mean though. That's a friend of Jeremy's. Like the guy.
Oh, that was Jeremy? Okay.
Yeah, it was like, what is it? Why get a why get a mini SNES when you can get a RetroPie? Never shut up about it or something. Something like that. I think I tried to emulate that. No pun intended, but I tried to do that same kind of, you know. I copied his like weirdly hostile facial expression for something like I'm defensive that the world knows I haven't played Earthbound or something.
Dude, on gaming Twitter, that has become like the default, just like shut up response. Anytime like someone like something new comes out with like emulators on it, and like someone will just bitch about a RetroPie.
Yeah.
I just see that face or that headline every single good time. So
Yeah.
it's awesome.
It's that the click hole guy, like worst guy has a good opinion or whatever it was.
Yes, exactly, just like that.
That's when it's powerful, is when the image alone now makes you remember a headline. Like, you know what I mean? That you've got the headline memorized, or and it's just like, yeah, that's pretty crazy when that happens.
No, but guys, I mean, now speaking of, you guys do your job very well. Keep it humorous.
Thank you.
Keep it relevant. And then you got Miller Lite and their latest commercial. And they just fucked up. I mean, in a commercial, I don't know. I think I've seen her in a few movies. She's an actress, I think a comedic actress. But Miller Lite's big spiel in the commercial is basically throughout history, women have been brewing beer, and then they put us in bikinis. And they basically show off all the Coors Light, Miller Lite logos of girls in bikinis drinking beer. And their ad, which I still haven't determined if it's actually true. Now, there is a link and stuff, but it's like, send us your shit, meaning all the adverts, all the cardboard cutouts, send it to them, and they're going to get rid of it. And in the commercial, they try to make it sound like they're gonna make it into compost and send it to their women brewers so they can brew it into the good beer you want to drink. But they want to rub out the past in all these adverts.
I'll rub one out to that pile.
I mean,
Adverts.
the fuck?
Adverts. You started sounding Brad over here. Are you British?
Exactly. I just, man, it's so. I mean, coming on the heels of Bud Light and the shit they just went through and the loss they've had, this goes like, what? Like, why did you think this was going to be a good idea? So naturally, as Jim has labeled it, it's our drinkers mad, or whatever mad of the week, and a lot of people are like, wow, fuck Miller. And the best positive of both Miller and Bud getting all this hate is the amount of love our boys Yingling are getting, because that's a PA beer, oldest brewery in America.
Is it? You know what? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's just something synonymous with me. Of like, I didn't know Pennsylvania makes sense. I would have guessed Ohio, just because growing up in Michigan, doing stand up in the Midwest, something about as soon as you cross into Ohio is Yingling everywhere. So,
yeah.
But okay, it must just be Pennsylvania's. Like its impact is okay. Awesome. Sorry to interrupt you, but that's
no. But
that's
yeah,
great. That's great.
I love the Yingling love, and I support that 100% because Jim
good.
and I have been supporters of Yingling. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah, fuck Miller, fuck all these with their terrible ads.
Well, I mean, yeah. Go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
No, I'll wait for you to explain. I'm still not even sure I fully understand what's going on.
So in the ad, they're basically girl bossing and saying we're moving on and just promoting female things, brewers and stuff like that. And I was I don't like the ad because it wasn't funny, and I get what they were doing, but I also get what they're doing, where it's just they're aping what Bud Light did. They saw all the attention Bud Light did, so they're like, what's gonna piss off the exact same people the most? So my theory is they're just because you're seeing it with a lot of shit now too. So they put out girls gonna girl boss, and we're all supporting, and we're throwing away the past, because that was the big complaint about Bud Light. They're like, oh, you're throwing away your past customers, so all we're going to do is give you free advertisement by talking about it nonstop and pretending like it was this big thing. So now Miller Lite's doing it. Men's Warehouse has a an effeminate looking man, not sure if trans or not, but kind of in a dress, and they had a post
you're
about
not
it.
going to like the way you look. I guarantee it.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to like the way your son looks.
Oh my god!
It's just.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why I had to put it up here, because I was just looking through this trail of comments, and whatever thing you're on, we'll have the link down below, and it's the exact same shit, the same people getting mad all over again. And even to your point, Brian, about them, one person's like, well, that's why I'm only going to go to Yingling, and then of course someone's going to post, Yingling's had Pride Month labels or Pride Month things, every company does it, so. Right. I just think it's hilarious that people are still getting this mad over the same thing all over again and being sucking into it every time.
It's marketing,
and especially
baby.
the beer boys out there.
It's getting tough. It's like the old Adam West Batman movie when he's got the bomb and just everywhere he turns, you can't throw it there. That's like a guy trying to find a beer to drink these days, huh?
Foster's, baby.
You got to stick to the big can of Foster's. 150 years old. They're not progressive.
Big blue apolitical can.
Look, they're stuck on an island. Things are slower to get over there, so they haven't gone woke yet. It's safe. It's the only safe one for the boys to go out for.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm a little bit spotty on Australian history, but if it's Australian and some over a century old, like what was the whole, like, how far removed from a colony of prisoners were they when they started brewing this stuff?
It was probably brewed in a toilet originally, if I had to guess.
That's right.
The original toilet wine.
You can actually still taste some of that.
Meanwhile,
I think
Brian's drinking his delicious seltzer water that Kevin wishes he had.
Good old LaCroix, the key lime.
And
That
glass, no less, too. Wow,
That's
very fancy.
And I'm still drinking out of my no IPA May glass, my custom
Oh,
glass.
nice.
So,
Nice.
but yeah.
So is it a thing that do you guys enjoy IPAs and like come June you will be drinking them again, or are you like kind of always not into them and come May it's like we really just we spread the word a little bit?
And so it's funny. So when we started the podcast, like we were, to say amateur at other beers outside of like a handful of non-macros, then it's like, okay, IPAs, they definitely are an acquired taste. They're like the first time anyone has whiskey and they go, fuck, that burns. And then when you appreciate it more, you're like, oh, better whiskey's out there. But the problem with IPAs is that it is so goddamn dominant. I equate it to how FPSs were during the 360 reign and the PS3 and PS4. Like, that's the only genre that mattered in gaming forever. And even right now, it's just Fortnite and whatever. For now, it's Tears, that little indie game, Tears of the Kingdom. But, like, IPAs have managed to have this stranglehold on beer styles. Like, every time you go to a brewery, I guarantee there's at least 4 or 5 IPAs brewed by that brewer. It's one of those things where we just went, okay, like, how about we celebrate other styles of beer so people can be exposed to ones that you've never even tried. So, like, Jim, he started getting into stouts and sours and things that he didn't drink because it's so much easier to go to a beer store and there's 5 aisles filled with IPAs. So you really have to search out the other shit. And, so it was just kind of like... And I'm a sucker for things that rhyme, so it was just no IPA May. And
It's great.
We started it 2 years ago. It was just an easy thing. We'd reach out to folks like, hey, if you're not drinking IPAs, send us your photos. What are you drinking? Let us know what you like. And we just kept it up. We started sending prizes like glasses, shirts, stickers, shit like that. So it's just a fun way. I'm curious, like, what do people go to if you eliminate IPAs? And that's part of the fun for us doing that.
It's awesome. I'm glad I could come on, and I'm glad I, without knowing it, played into
you played right into it.
Yeah.
And Kev did too.
You played us like a fiddle, damn it.
That's right. Not drinking your Miller Lights.
Even if it is
funny,
just Australian Budweiser. But that's fine.
Hey.
It's imported. It's imported. It's fancy.
Yeah.
When you were talking about that ad, I was like, it starts off like, even if I don't think it's great, it's like well-intentioned enough, but then like you just kept saying stuff, and I was like, oh no, like send us in your stuff and we'll burn it. We'll make it into the fucking new beer.
Yeah, well, the problem is like
that's wild.
Like how you guys, I would argue in your article, you know how to go hard in the paint and complete the joke. They did. They clearly had horrible writers who don't know what comedy is, and they're trying to be funny, and the gimmick is like, send us your shit, and they always block out the word shit, and we'll turn it into good shit. And they literally have women now holding up piles. It says the good shit or the bad shit, and then they're dumping it, and they're turning it into... I'm like, wow, this is just awful because it's a terrible, like, boring, not funny at all.
Well, this is a great. This is actually a great opportunity for me to say Miller Lite. If you'd like me to write anything, I've reviewed 25 Nintendo 64 games. Pretty funny. I could maybe work on this.
Right, isn't there a nice dichotomy too with this coming out during No IPA May? Because what seems to always win No IPA May, Brian, when it comes down to likes and votes?
Well, I mean, we reach out to a lot of folks, and scantily clad women tend to be what submit and get the most well-received receptions and votes. So, yeah, it's like, and I don't know how your guys' takes are, but one of the best summations of this I actually saw because it was shown to Joe Rogan, and he just said, first of all, he's like, they in this commercial, they said women are the ones that have been brewing your beer since the beginning of time. And he's like, well, people have, but whatever. And he's like, and the problem is some people look really good in a bikini and makes other people want to buy it. He's like, that's all this is. He's like, so it's not a thing like they purposely, it's like sex sells for a reason.
The original Booth Babes.
Yeah. I mean,
Booth
here's
Babes
the deal.
gone the way of the dodo, though, Brian. That's, you got to wonder why.
Remember what they took from you.
But they haven't. That's the joke, right? Like, we act like it has, and then you go anywhere, and you still go to stadiums, and who's selling the beer out of the little containers? Who's the Bud Light girls and Miller Light girls in the corners?
I'm pretty detached, I guess. I'm like, when have I been to a stadium? I don't even know.
Yeah, no, I mean, like Kevin's talking about, like when you go to conventions and stuff like that. Like it used to be the thing, like big setup, like super hot women right there, just drawing people in, and they've moved away from that.
Oh,
I guess
well,
trying
shit.
to
I just
avoid
went to the beer
controversies and shit.
store. No, I was saying I just went to a beer store, and they always have someone standing there giving out samples. Now they're obviously not in bikinis, but I will say there's a certain demographic that they use that certainly seems to bring people over and want to try out that beer. Is it a Quinky Dink? I don't know. If it had guys like Jim and me trying to sell it, something tells me you won't be buying as much or trying that beer as much.
Hey
It's,
now.
I'm just saying.
Hey, I guess there's
I
a
mind.
certain amount of, some people should really try to become horse jockeys, just as with the hand you've been dealt. I don't think that,
a lot of opportunities
yeah, so maybe some people should try to fucking be ring girls in boxing because that's just what works. We don't want guys like Mark, Jim, Kevin, and Brian holding up round 4.
I'm better off writing about Buck Bumble.
That's right. We all have our, things to contribute. That's fine. Yeah. You know what troubles me about Bud Light? And it's not, obviously it's like, I think it's a waste of energy to be like, wasn't it so fucked up and misogynistic in the 80s? Like, yeah, of course it was. But it wasn't just Miller Lite. It wasn't just this or anything. But Bud Light used to have Spuds McKenzie. And I don't like when a dog dies and I wish they would have gotten a new dog or something,
Yeah.
Someone like if any that's like a home run waiting for someone to just have a dog. Bud Light had a dog in the 80s. Everyone still loves dogs,
Yeah, you know what?
First beer get a dog's going to crack this thing wide open, guys. I just realized that.
I think that's the solution here. Like, let's just, the culture war will end if we just get dogs selling beer again.
Yeah.
They could have replaced Spuds and nobody would have ever known. Like, find a dog who looks just like that. Nobody will know. Like, isn't Spuds a little bit old? I don't know. I don't care. I'm going to buy it.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
And we're in the internet age. How does not one of these taken just a cat and put it on Twitter with an ad for something and just let that take off?
I can has Bud Light.
Exactly right. Yeah.
They're always a little bit late to that. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to be doing that kind of stuff a little bit later than we all were.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Adams is going to have a Ugandan Knuckles one in 4 years. And you're going to be like, ah.
Yeah, all your Miller Lite belong to us.
Damn it. All of a sudden, Kev, Foster's is coming out. And as you're drinking that, they're going to use you as a spokesperson to write the ad.
I will be there immediately. With my dog, if I had one.
Yeah. But no, I am curious. I do want to see what is the next beer company. I mean, the two biggest ones obviously already threw their hat in the ring, so who knows? Dos Equis will be now. It's the most interesting woman in the world, and
there you go. Yeah,
that's just a natural progression. I'm sure we're gonna see. No, but
that'll
guys,
be interesting. Yeah, they use a woman in their ads, but it's good, and then everybody else is like moving away from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just switching it up. Same shit, different day.
Exactly.
Beer's caught up to the rat race of outrage porn and commercials for just attention.
Yeah. No, but gents, we want to thank you guys so much for hopping on with us. I love talking the article. Once again, all the links are below.
And congratulations on the success of the article, too, because it's all everyone talked about.
Thank you, and thank you, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, but with that, guys, we want to say thank you so much for watching. If you are watching on YouTube, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, so that way the algorithm does pick us up. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. And even if you want to bash us in the comments, we will read it on each and every one of these Power Hour podcasts. With that, we want to say thank you, guys. Have a good night, and cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.